Hey everyone, welcome back to Couch Conversations with Sasha Love. I'm your host, Sasha Love, and today we're going to have a conversation about self care. So, the whole meaning of self care has flowed and changed for me over the past few years from coming from a place of just spending a lot of money on things that I deserve and I have worked hard for and I need, whether I could afford it or not. And the other extreme would just be like, hey, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to show up to this event. I don't want to show up for this activity. I don't want to go to this thing. Or no, I don't want to do that. Was all the self care I could muster on other days. So, with that journey of self care, it really, in making this particular series, it made me think about what does self care actually mean. I've seen it everywhere from social media to people talking about it in different circles, even in work. At work, people talk about self care and creating this balance in your life. And because it's something that we talk about so much and it's now becoming a part of our culture, a part of our experience, or rather, I should say, it's becoming more normalized. I think it's important to really understand what that means. The glamorous side of self care can sometimes justify overspending. It can sometimes justify making risky and dangerous decisions. It can sometimes justify certain choices that are not founded on sound judgment. Now, I'm not saying that self care has to be something regimented and boring and has to look a certain way, but I'm highlighting a very, very important caveat, a very, very important thing that we need to consider, that self care can be used as a justification for self destructive behaviors. So, food for thought. So, we've talked about like this caveat of self care. So, what is self care? What does it actually mean? What how does that look like, or what are examples of what this could look like? Because for every person, each person will have their own spin, their own interpretation, their own application of self-care. So what is kind of like a healthy sense of self-care? Well, simply put, in my experience and what I've been wrestling with and trying to understand, self-care is simply behaviors and actions in line with your well-being. That could be decisions about what you eat, decisions about how often you move your body, decisions about how much water you drink, decisions about who you spend your time with, who you choose to date, the friends in your circle, the days off you need to take, the discipline you need to practice. Whatever that case may be, self-care is simply summarized as actions and behaviors in line with your overall well-being. Now, one thing about self-care is that there's some aspects that do feel good. If you can afford it and it's time for you to take that vacation to Bora Bora or the Maldives, go for it. Enjoy it. Live it. Take pictures. Send them to me. I'm kidding. But do it. If you can afford certain things, go for it. If it's a wise decision to make, go for it. Or if it's a fun decision to make, go for it. On the other hand, self-care can sometimes in the moment feel uncomfortable. Some of us don't enjoy brushing our teeth, but that's something that needs to be done for our overall well-being, for our teeth health, our dental health, and for our overall health in general. For some of us, having the stamina to work out 30 minutes 3 to 4 times a week or 5 times a week is a lot. And it's not fun and it's not easy and it feels like a chore. But still, it's important to your overall health and well-being. Being the only one who orders the salad or the healthy option on the menu may not be the most exciting choice, but the next day, you may realize how good your body feels with making that decision. Saying no to someone that is very hard to say no to, or saying no to someone that you don't want to disappoint, or saying no in situations that you would really like to be a part of, but in listening to your heart and listening to your body and listening to your soul and listening to the intentions you set for your life, you just know that this would not be the space for you. It can be hard to say no, and it can be even uncomfortable to deal with the reactions people may have from us saying no. But that, just as much as the fun and feel good things that we do for ourselves, the other aspect of self-care is also important, that discipline. Making those decisions that are healthy for us in the long run, even if they feel uncomfortable in the moment. In line with that, self-care is also reinforcing your boundaries, practicing things that are important for you, whether that's going to church, whether that's reading your Bible, doing your devotions, journaling, meditating, and learning what is and is not okay for your life. So for some people, I have had to learn how to create boundaries about what I choose to share and what I choose not to share. I have learned to create boundaries in my day for certain moments to be for me, for certain days to be for me, for certain moments to be for me. I've also learned to create boundaries about what I share. Simply because someone wants something from me, whether it's my time, my resources, my energy, my attention, it doesn't mean I have to give it. And sometimes in those situations, or for me personally, it can be difficult to say no. Because there's a part of me that's like, well, what if, they just need X, Y, and Z? What if they need X, Y, and Z, or this and that? Or what if I can step in this role? Or what if I can help in this way? There's nothing wrong with helping. There's nothing wrong with wanting to step in and do those things. But if it comes at a cost to my well-being, if it comes at a cost to my mental well-being, spiritual well-being, emotional well-being, or physical well-being, I have to be willing to reinforce certain boundaries and say, no, that's not going to serve me. My self-care journey has also taught me that it's important to also celebrate yourself. How many times have we seen someone achieve something great, get an award, graduate from high school or college or nursing school or medical school? We've seen them achieve such great things, open their own business, have a successful business, recover from heartbreak, whatever the case may be. How many times have we witnessed that? And it's almost instinctively, we're just like, all right, let's bust out the paycheck. Let's have this party. Let's get the decorations going. Let's get the food going. Let's get the music, the ambiance all set up. And let's celebrate this person. Let's celebrate their achievement. Let's celebrate how far they have come. How many times we sit down and do that for ourselves? Granted, it doesn't have to be an extravagant one-person party where you're renting out a whole venue just for yourself, but it's the principle of it. How many times have we taken the time to say, you know what? I've made it this far. My progress hasn't been public. My progress hasn't been grandiose or major or maybe even significant enough for someone else to notice. But I noticed that there are some changes. I noticed that lately I'm not as reactive, or I noticed that I'm more cognizant, that I'm not easily triggered by certain things, or I've developed this awareness about my triggers and I don't react as easily as I used to. Maybe I have a more open mind. Maybe I've forgiven this person who has hurt me in a way that I never imagined could be possible, and I can finally see them. I can finally talk to them without any anger or bitterness or resentment. Maybe you started a project that you worked on in secret, in private, whether it was a business, whether it was a podcast, a YouTube channel, whether it was an essay, an article, a book. And you made some progress, you made some gains, even if it's not perfect, even if you haven't reached the completion of the picture of what you were looking for, but you made progress. You did something amazing. You did something that you probably have never done before. So why not celebrate that? Why not celebrate you? And it could be as simple as buying yourself a slice of cake, maybe taking yourself out for a massage, maybe going somewhere nice or treating yourself in a way that you enjoy. Taking time to celebrate you. And last but not least, self-care. I feel like one of the most practical ways, at least on a daily basis, to practice self-care is to learn how to manage time. I recently wrote, I was writing a piece, a creative writing piece, and I remember thinking about how, like, my experience in a situation. And I was writing how, like, man, I feel really lonely, I feel unseen. And I was kind of just like sharing my story and sharing kind of where that was coming from and my thoughts about it. And at the end of the piece, I had this realization, I had this thought in my mind that even though in this space, the feelings I had of feeling unseen and lonely were valid or are valid, I still want to make the most out of the time that I have in this particular season of my life. Now, what that looks like to everyone, again, will be different. But if life has taught us anything, is that life is short. And how we manage our time is so, so crucial. And probably one of the best ways to reflect how we truly care for ourselves. Are we wasting time in situations with people doing things that don't serve us, that are draining our energy, draining our resources, draining our time? Or are we spending time growing? Are we spending time uplifting ourselves? Are we spending time in situations that are uplifting? Are we spending time with people that pour into us just as we pour into them? Are we spending time doing things that matter to us, that enrich our souls? Is life, when we look back at the last month or the last week or the last 3 months or 3 weeks, do we feel a sense of meaning? And it goes beyond just like, doing a life purpose or things like that. Those things are important, but in the small moments that we have, because sometimes, keeping it real, life is busy, life is difficult, life is hard. But even in those seasons where life is busy and difficult, are we making time to create meaningful moments? Are we making time to truly care for ourselves, which by extension allows us to care for those around us? Self-care. Lots of layers, lots of components to it. But I challenge you to really take the time to think about and reflect on what self-care means to you. What are some things that you can do today that are practical to practice self-care? And I just thought about this. Like, self-care is kind of like the actions of telling yourself, I love you. Whether it's in the thoughts that you think, the words that you say to yourself, the intentions that you set, your actions, behaviors. It's another way to tell yourself, I love you. How are you doing that for yourself? Even now, in this season, whether it's a highlight season, a winning season, or whether it's one of the struggle seasons. Define self-care for you. And I hope that you continue to find ways to show and tell yourself, I love you. Until next time, take care.